shoreline at about 400 feet, about 70 knots. It's 1308. Mclean Point just coming up into view. You can see a shallow area extending off to the buoy just in the water. Extends off of Mclean Point and connects at the barrier beach fronting this small pond. Looks to be mostly a sand beach, dune grass. Nice little beach ridges formed. And then as you follow farther along Mclean Point, you get into a fringing beach, very low-lying backshore, vegetated with trees and scrub brush. And then the near shore is more homogeneous sand and some pebble cobble, but mostly sand. This is called the North Basin, and we'll be just coming up to Mclean Cove, the youth camp in this part of the bay. And we're heading towards Orangedale, which used to be one of the big centers on this part of the Bredor Lakes. Coming around this point, very sandy foreland, some little recurve ridges around it. And then just around the corner you get more pebble and sand along the beach. Backshore is a very low, maybe less than 3 meter high scarp. And then in the cove itself, Mclean Cove, you can see the road runs right along the edge of the so-called beach. We're heading into Orangedale. Orangedale used to, like I said, used to be one of the big centers along here. It still is a fairly major area. Coming into Blues Cove, the old railway embankment. Coming up Orangedale, the old railway station. So the railway went by here and sort of left the West Bay area out of it. It's a pretty little spot. Like at Orangedale, there's a fair bit of wetland in the landward of the railway bridge, and there's a wharf and anchorage just in Blues Cove. Fairly shallow waters and grassed yards all along the edge of the head. Heading out of Blues Cove. We won't go up the little McDonald Cove, and we'll go by Martin's Island and head along the other side of the North Basin. We're just heading towards Gillis Cove, a very small embayment. This is the site of the Gillis Cove Oyster Research Station, where they get spat for oyster cages. used to be an old fisheries research station. The Eskasoni Indian Band looks after things. As you can see, it's sort of stagnant waters up at this end of the Gillis Cove, up by the road, and you see the oyster cages in the water.
Flying along the west side of Gillis Cove, you can see the oyster spat facilities and fairly irregular shore on this side, and a low cuspate spit at the mouth of Gillis Cove. A little bit deeper water just in there, and then we'll head eastward along the north shore of North Basin. Very little fringing beach to begin with, treed right down the shoreline. However, the fringing beach does pick up, get a little bit wider as you head towards Morrison's Cove, and it appears to be more of an erosional scarp in the back shore. And you can see the sand deposits picking up now.
Morrison's Cove. We're just entering the Boom, the channel between Boom Island and the West Alba shore. As you can see along here, it's a fairly narrow channel. The shores are partially stabilized, reddish brown tills. Time is 2:18. The beaches are almost non-existent, although there's sand in the near shore with a narrow apron of shallow water, which tends to get a little bit wider in places. We're proceeding towards the mouth of the Boom and Cranberry Island. You see some of these sandier areas have dune grass in the back shore, sandy foreshores, but again, it's not very well developed beaches in these inner waters. We're going by a very small unnamed island with a bit of a spit off beach corner of it. You see here mostly sandy, and then we're coming up on Cranberry Island, which has a fairly large wetland on the south side. You can see dune grass along the barrier. There's a partial inlet-outlet through it to the wetland area. As we come around the corner, you can see the shallow water that extends off from the island. Coming around this corner, again, there's a shoal just ringing the edge of the island. And we'll proceed back up into Portage Creek area and towards Castles Cove and Martin Cove.
We're just looking at several coves in the background there, including Martin Cove and Wide Cove and Crooked Cove, and the shore as we head towards Castles Cove has some wetland vegetation, discontinuous beach, and at the mouth of Castles Cove there's quite a low-lying island just in the foreground here with a bit of a fringing beach with dune grass in the back. You see some of the seabed in the picture, so it's not that deep, but as you head towards Piper's Cove you get a little bit better fringing beach, wetland, and a little bit more relief right at the shoreline, maybe some more erosional scarp. And you can just see the presence of the railway, the gap in the trees as we head towards the crossing at Portage Creek.
We're just covering the railway bridge at Portage Creek. Portage Creek used to be an area where there was oyster spats in the 1970s. Don't know how active any of that is now. You can see most of the shores along here as we cut across. Most of the waters up in this area, Portage Creek, are very shallow. There's vegetation in the subtidal area, and most of the shores are vegetated either with grasses or trees. Very tranquil waters, sort of stagnant waters almost. A lot of old tree stumps and stuff in the water. And we circle at the head of Portage Creek. The time is 2:22 or 14:22 local time. And we get a good view looking across the road and down into Portage Creek. See some of the islands in the middle of the estuary or inlet, and you see there's very little beach development. The trees and the vegetation goes right down to the water line. It's June 24th, 1996, and we're flying at about 400 feet at 80 knots. Just coming up to the railway bridge that goes across the mouth of Portage Creek in the upper part of the Bredor Lake. There you just get a view of the bridge in the foreground, and as we come across you get these partially stabilized scarp shores, low wetland just in the foreground there now. Grasses in the back shore, very shallow water in the near shore. Cutting by Estamere, very small village up in the head of the waters here. As we head around towards Round Island and Campbell Island, the shores are starting to get a little bit higher, probably about 10 meters or more relief. Backshore partially scarped, reddish brown till, foreshore, narrow beach, and the subtidal areas of shallow water, sandy, a lot of vegetation just offshore. Time is 14:24. We're just leaving the mainland shore and heading across to Round Island and then Campbell Island. Up in the channel, you can see again a spit, recurved spit, and it's just joined to form a cuspate foreland in the back of the Round Island. As we come around it, you see there's a spit on each end. Mostly sandy, but there's some pebble in there, and the nearshore waters are pebbly sand. And the backshore, partially stabilized scarp. Nearshore waters you can see fairly well, they're shallow. And as we come across over to Campbell Island, there's a shoal that extends off Campbell Island towards Round Island off its point. And there's several small barriers and cuspate forelands that join different parts of Campbell Island. There you get a good view of the higher part of Campbell Island, and then we go on into the lower area, which has a barrier beach, several ridges, beach ridges, recurves going into the lagoon, and there's a partial outlet from the lagoon. Coming around Campbell Island, we've gone by the outer islands, and as we come around you see it's much more gravelly and pebbly. We're probably in the Windsor group now. mostly till shores. Water depth here less than 30 meters anyway, but the outer shores here seem to have a lot more cobble boulder lag. Just seeing the sort of the shoal that extends from an island just off of Campbell Island and almost completely joins it. The outer part of that small island is erosional scarp. Probably less than 5 meters relief, I would guess. And there's a shoal extends seaward of it as well. Time is 14:26. We're just coming around Campbell Island. There you can see the shoal again that joins the small island and Campbell Island. Coming around the backside of Campbell Island, there's beautiful recurved beach ridges with trees lining the ridges. It's mostly sand dune cap around along the island, and it's a very beautiful sort of curvature to the barrier beach in the island. As you come along this part of Campbell Island, it's more scarp at the back shore and pebble cobble beach. And then at the far end again is a small barrier. Now we're coming over to Round Island. And this side of the island is more of a pebble cobble beach. Fairly well developed, a lot of dead trees lying along. Look at. At the end again we have a small expedite foreland, sandy. We're just going to curve around and head back down the main shore towards Mackinnon's harbor. Just make a circle here, looking back towards Round Island and Campbell Island. And we're just joining the main shore again. Coming around one of the headlands just before Mackinnon's harbor. Sees more scarp in the back shore. Then we switch into a barrier beach, sandy, trees around the old beach ridges and dunes. And then again a foreland, expedite foreland again with trees along the old ridges. And then the outer headland, we're getting into more of a partially stabilized reddish brown till cliff. We come around the corner up towards Red Point West. Going across the front of Mackinnon's harbor, you can see the old entrance is all filled in now, has a barrier beach in front of it. And ridges, you just see it now. That's the old inlet. It's filled in with beach ridges and shoals. In fact, there seems to be a pile of sediment there that's artificial. As we come along the barrier that fronts Mackinnon's harbor, it's more sandy, gravel, pebble. You see a lot of strip forestry on the peninsula, more scarped, partially eroded scarp. It's about a 15-meter contour. We're just looking up Mackinnon's Harbor. Used to be gypsum quarrying up in this area, and they used to dredge the inlet to get into Mackinnon's Harbor, but it all filled in, and that may be one of the reasons for that big pile of sediment, is it's part of what they filled in. It's hard to tell unless they've been mining it. There you get a view looking on the backside of the peninsula that runs along the front of Mackinnon's Harbor. About a 15-meter relief, 15-20-meter relief to that peninsula. Coming down again, you get a good view of the old entrance. Coming by the new entrance to Mckinnon Harbor, you can see it's constrained by boulder riprap on the entranceway. And it looks as if there may be a wharf put in there occasionally, but it's certainly constrained but very shallow, open to small boats. As we go along the outer shore one more time, we'll have a quick look at this old inlet, and it looks like it's been artificially filled out and closed off, possibly. The barrier itself is very narrow, and we're just going about 80 knots, and we're just going to carry on where we were before, towards Mckinnon Point. As you can see here, the scarp is about 15 meters high. Reddish, sandy, silty till with scattered cobble boulder on the base of the cliff, as well as exposures of bedrock which look to be gypsum. We're in the Windsor group along here. As we come up on the Mckinnon Point, there's 2 or 3 small barriers with ephemeral entrances. Look like they've been opened and now have been closed again, overwashed. Just looking down at some people, and they have put some riprap in front of their cottage. And then there's several barriers linking to Mckinnon Point.